Entitled sister gives her son away after learning he's crippled. My sister and her husband wanted a dream family. Having a child with mobility issues didn't fit into that, so I've been raising him ever since. The problem is that he doesn't know who his parents are. More importantly, he doesn't know why they gave him away. They recently revealed themselves to be his birth parents, and he wants to get to know them better, but I keep wondering if maybe I should stand in the way. I adopted my 17-year-old son Lucas when he was 3 years old. Lucas doesn't remember a life when I wasn't his parent. The circumstances behind Lucas's adoption were emotionally draining. Biologically, Lucas is the son of my older sister Jenny and her husband Derek. Lucas was their first child, and Jenny and Derek did want to start a family, but when Lucas was 3 years old, he was diagnosed with a chronic condition. People with Lucas's condition can usually lead independent, relatively normal lives. Lucas's condition only affects his mobility, and with the extent of his condition, he needs to use a wheelchair for the rest of his life. Jenny and Derek said that having a child in a wheelchair wouldn't fit into their image of a dream family. They were considering surrendering custody of Lucas, but I decided I would adopt him. Jenny and Derek signed custody over to me, and I became his legal parent. Jenny and Derek regularly sent me money to help cover Lucas's expenses until they had another child, saying that they could no longer afford to send money. Jenny and Derek now have 2 children, aged 14 and 12. I live an approximately 3-hour drive away from Jenny and Derek. Since I adopted Lucas, they've hardly made any effort to see him, only seeing him during holidays. Lucas lives a happy life with us. He lives with me, my husband, and our 10-year-old daughter. Lucas knows he's adopted, but I never told him who his biological parents were or why he was adopted. He knows that we love him and that regardless of DNA, he's our son. Lucas never expressed an interest in finding out who his biological parents are. I made it clear to him that if he changes his mind, it won't hurt our feelings, and we can talk about it. Recently, Lucas showed me a Facebook message he received from Derek. I was shocked. Derek dropped the bomb on Lucas that he and Jenny are his real parents, and that I adopted him when he was 3. Jenny and Derek never discussed telling Lucas about this with me, so to say I was angry was an understatement. I called Jenny and asked her what the heck was going on. Jenny brushed it off and said that Derek was drunk and sent the message on a whim. I told Jenny that what Derek did was inappropriate and inconsiderate of Lucas. She said that Derek can do what he wants, and I can't shield Lucas from the truth. Lucas has mixed feelings. He's been talking about meeting up with Jenny and Derek, but would I be the jerk if I told Lucas that they gave up custody of him because of his disability? I feel like Lucas deserves the full truth, but I don't want this information to harm his mental health. Oddly, the awful birth parents do make one good point. This original poster can't hide the truth forever. The question comes down to when and how the truth should be revealed. And this is a really tricky situation, because it's easy to make the wrong move. Personally, telling him the truth before Jenny and Derek get to talk with him feels spiteful. He's old enough to decide for himself if he's able to deal with this. He might still want to speak with a counselor after learning about it to help process his feelings, but it will be his choice how to proceed no matter what. So, the question comes down to whether Derek and Jenny can be trusted to tell him the actual truth, or if OP is worried they may poison his head with lies. That's a valid concern based on what little we know about them. Although it does sound like plowing Derek with a few drinks is a pretty easy way to make the truth come out, it's not the healthiest way. Normally, this is where I'd ask what you'd do in OP's shoes. Not this time. It's the son's feelings that matter most. If you were him, who would you want to learn the truth from? Would you still want to speak to your birth parents about it if you learned the truth from your adopted mother first? Let us know in the comments what you think would be best for this kid. My wife hates pineapple so much, I had to force her to eat her pizza. I'm newly married to my wife, Mary. Mary is quite a picky eater and often struggles eating a lot of common, everyday foods. Yesterday, I came home from work and realized that Mary hadn't even made an attempt to make dinner. Before anyone says anything, we split when we make dinner on alternating days. Yesterday was her day. I have a very active job. I was quite hungry from working all day and asked my wife if it was okay to order a pizza. She agreed, and I put in an order for a medium Hawaiian pizza. When it came, she saw what the pizza was and immediately started yelling at me due to the fact that she doesn't like pineapple. I remember her saying that earlier in our relationship, but at the time of ordering, it slipped my mind. I told my wife that if she wanted to pick off the pineapple, that's fine, but that it's too late to order in anything else. She started crying, saying that she hates the texture of pineapple and feels like puking whenever she eats it. I apologized, but said that there was nothing I can do, as I don't want to trouble the pizza employees with making another pizza, all because she refuses to pick off a few small pieces of pineapple. She began yelling at me and even broke 2 of the plates we got as wedding gifts. I told her to shut the heck up and eat the gosh dang pizza. At this point, she's having a breakdown like a 5-year-old. So I grab a slice, pick off the pineapple for her, put it on a plate, and handed it to her. I tell her she's not allowed to leave until she grows up, because she can't taste the texture now. After almost an hour, she finished the slice of pizza and ran up to our room, calling me a jerk. I scoffed and told her to stay there. Act like a child, get treated like a child. I told my friend Gary what happened, and he told me that I was just as out of line as she was, which is making me wonder, am I the jerk? My favorite detail here is that OP wouldn't order another pizza because it would trouble the pizza employees. Not because they'd have to wait for it, not because of the cost, but because he didn't want to make a few pimply teens do the thing they already get paid to do. My least favorite detail is that he doesn't tell us how he forced this grown woman to eat a slice of pizza. That's where this whole thing sounds like a terrifying thriller movie. We've covered stories about people with sensory issues here, and I'm terrified to think of how this OP would act if he was raising one of those kids. Because half of Reddit is apparently auditioning for a job writing Lifetime movies, a lot of them have assumed this wife won't survive her marriage. I don't know that either of them will if she's prone to throwing plates when someone orders a pizza she doesn't like. The commenters think he was getting physical and that she threw them in self-defense. I don't really get that from the story. Not that OP would tell us if it were the case. Either way, this is yet another Reddit story about 2 people blowing up entirely over what should have been a minor issue. Not to mention a preventable one, because it takes 3 seconds to ask your wife what she wants on her pizza. So yes, this OP is the jerk here. And I don't really need to know if his wife is one too to know that they probably shouldn't be married. If you made it this far in the video, consider liking and subscribing for more videos coming. Entitled Karen gets hit with instant karma for insulting my late mother. My sister-in-law has been married into my spouse's family going on 5 years now. She always claimed to be an alpha leader, and if things weren't going right, she would throw a horrible, toddler-like fit. She claimed she was mistreated by her family and never respected as the woman of the house since her mom passed in 2008. She would always want everything a certain way. She'd always want a big fuss for her birthday, but give you a dollar store wooden ornament for yours. Get hot dogs for a barbecue, you'd have to buy the expensive ones because she has dietary restrictions. But she never offered to help pay. This is the solid theme with her. When the pandemic started, she went on unemployment because her job was in person and the location closed down for a while. She chose not to go back. When the gravy train ended and money stopped coming in, she suddenly had all these health issues pop up. I am actually disabled, but I work full-time and I struggle with my health. I would come down with a real issue, and suddenly she would be mimicking that issue. Suddenly she decided she couldn't drive, so my spouse and their parents started driving her around to help her out. My spouse was once the only one who could take her to a doctor's appointment almost 2 hours away. After she demanded to be taken to a friend's house, my spouse said no, because they really didn't want to leave me any longer than needed. She didn't like that. Fast forward to this summer. My mom passed away after a huge battle with metastasized illness that caused her to waste away painfully and slowly. I really struggled with blaming myself because I couldn't find her better treatment. Meanwhile, my sister-in-law's need for rides got worse and more demanding. I mentioned in a family group chat that Medicaid had a ride service that she could get for free. She lost her mind on me. She said the ride service was horrible, and she would rather ride with family. I reminded her that we all have to make concessions. She then claimed she gave 110% to this family, and I was always out to get her, that I had been judging her and looking down my nose at her for 10 years. She then stated that my parents raised me wrong, and she was raised right to watch what she said around people, and it must be because I come from money, which I don't. Suddenly, the chat blew up on her. My spouse, who was still grieving my mom's passing, said the sister-in-law was raised wrong, and that I was only trying to help. My spouse's parents even told her to apologize, and rescinded their rides until she did, as did my spouse. She took to TikTok, posting video after video, calling me a booty hole because I took away her rides because she was disabled. She claimed I masterminded the whole thing and got my in-laws and husband to take away her rides, so now she has to go off her meds and drive herself with level 10 pain. She even went as far as to say I told her she was raised wrong. People online are now agreeing with her and attacking me via TikTok, and it's making me worried I was in the wrong. Am I the booty hole? This Karen of a sister-in-law is 100% the jerk. Not only did she get exactly what was coming to her, but it sounds like it actually took a lot longer than it should have. It also sounds like this OP handled things in the smartest way possible. With someone like this, confronting her head-on and taking her free rides away might have backfired. By offering her a chance to figure things out for herself, OP pulled back the veil on just how entitled and demanding her sister-in-law really is. Even if she hadn't insulted the parenting of a woman who had just passed away, her behavior would have shown people that she didn't deserve the patience she'd been getting. I'm not surprised that she won some people over on TikTok. There are people on TikTok buying spoiled milk through the mail at crazy prices and calling the woman who sells it an entrepreneur. Never doubt your morals because someone on TikTok insulted you. There's an expression that it's a compliment to be hated by the right people. Let them spread as much hate as they want. Focus on the people who have your back and who see this Karen for what she really is. You're better off without everyone else. My significant other won't accommodate my insane germaphobia. Me and my significant other have been arguing all day about this, and it's gotten pretty nasty. Long story short, I went out for an hour and 15 minutes for martial arts class and came back. She knows that whenever I come home, I put my dirty clothes straight in the washer. I came home, we greeted each other, and then I waited about a minute before putting my dirty clothes in the washer. When I went to open the washer, I saw our white bedsheets were in there. I thought nothing of it, because my clothes are white, and I figured she had waited for me to return home so we could wash the whole load together. It turns out she had just run the wash, hadn't heard it completed, and then totally forgot about it and basically told me to ask her next time. I basically got really upset and felt like she was being very inconsiderate of the fact that I live here. She knows I dumped my clothes in there, and she easily had multiple chances to tell me she just washed clothes. She could have told me when I came home, sent me a text, etc. Her argument is that she forgot. She would have asked me if the roles were reversed. I said that's not fair because I'm not a mind reader, and I don't want to feel like I need permission to do everything around the house because I live here. And it's fair to assume the machine was unused because it was off, and she was home for the hour. She saw me and didn't say anything. She knows I return and do my laundry right away, and I wasn't gone that long, so I assume the chances of her running the wash in that time span were minimal. Note that I'm also upset at her for being inconsiderate in the past because she left a bulky box in our old apartment just standing around, and I told her to move it multiple times because you couldn't walk around the apartment without squeezing around it. I'm also a much bigger dude than her, and I basically got injured tripping on the side of that box and messed up my back for a week. I'm standing firm, and I told her it's time for her to grow up, learn to communicate, and realize I live here and it's not just her. I shouldn't need to confirm that I can put my clothes in the laundry when she knows I'm coming home like I always do. Who's in the right here? I just can't even deal with the irony of an OP who refuses to ask a simple question about whether the laundry had already been washed, then says in the same breath that his girlfriend needs to grow up and learn to communicate. It shouldn't even be that hard to tell. Dry laundry looks a lot different from laundry that's been spun out to the side of the washer. He says the washer practically dries the sheets during the spin cycle, but I'm not buying that. If you're wondering why the title mentions germaphobia, the OP said in the comments he refuses to touch the sheets to see if they're wet because he won't touch anything in the house without taking a shower, and he won't take a shower without washing his clothes. He also claims they have a separate car just for the gym, which I find highly suspect. And as for why he wouldn't move the box himself, he says there was nowhere to move it because his girlfriend is a hoarder. Which raises the question of why she's with a man who seems to be at least a germaphobe and at most OCD. Then again, and I can't believe this isn't my first time saying this on this channel, but couples who blow up like this over laundry disputes really shouldn't be together in the first place. It's just not a good match, guys. Move on. Or sell your second gym car and use it to buy an extra washer. One or the other. My entire family thinks it's okay to feed meat to vegans. I have a cousin, Paige. She's vegan. I love her. She's always been like a sister to me. On my dad's side, I have another cousin, Dave. He's a really nice person too, but I didn't really grow up to be with him, as he's older and his family lives far away from us. Well, 2 days ago, we were at this dinner my Aunt Dave's mom hosted. It was a dinner to celebrate Dave's engagement. Dave's fiancée, Laura, insisted on cooking. Apparently, she's very well known for her food, and everyone in my family who's tasted her food loves it. I personally never did, and I was open to it, as I love trying new stuff. While Laura was cooking, Paige approached her to remind her that she's vegan. She took the time to do it before Laura started dinner. Fast forward to dinner. I noticed some meat in it. Paige asked about it, to which Laura responded and said she used fake meat for Paige. She didn't doubt Laura and started to eat. I will admit I found it quite odd that Laura had fake meat, or that my aunt would have any, since they're both carnivorous. After dinner, almost everyone was outside but 3 of us, including Laura. I asked her if she really used fake meat for Paige, and she said, "Heck no, if she's vegan, she's got to bring her own food," while laughing. I was shocked and in disbelief. I went outside, pulled Paige aside, and told her. I just couldn't keep it for myself, and I felt too bad for Paige. I saw the anger rising up her face while she got up and screamed at Laura inside the house. What she didn't know is that everyone else could hear. It ended up with Laura being completely embarrassed and Paige leaving the house. Laura went up to me screaming that I shouldn't have told her and that everyone was having a great time until I opened up my mouth. Everyone at the dinner is taking her side, saying I shouldn't have said anything and that it wasn't my business. They all said that Laura was new to the family and that it was wrong of me to embarrass her like that. I don't know what to do. All of them are saying I did something wrong and that it could have just been a one-time thing that Paige would have never noticed. She messaged me earlier saying thank you for telling her. Am I the jerk? Like a suspicious number of posts on the subreddit, you're probably the only one in your family who isn't a jerk. Really, nobody in the whole family agreed that what Laura did was wrong. I don't know much about Paige's history, but if she's never eaten meat before, this dinner could have taken a really nasty turn. That said, Paige might be a bit too trusting if she accepted the fake meat response without asking what kind. While I don't know a great number of vegans, I do know that the ones who eat fake meat love talking about different kinds and comparing which ones are best. It's not all tofu after all. What would you have done in this situation? I agree with OP here, but I also wonder if the situation might have blown up less if she told Laura she intended to let Paige know what happened. If Laura thought this was something to laugh about, probably not, but you never know. Let me know your own thoughts down in the comments. Please leave your stories in the comments. I'd love to make a video of them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.